Yeah, that's true.
Super thick.
So that could be where the problem is if we go over the original. I mean, you still got like a tighter space there, but
Yeah.
once you get past that part of the rail, you're kind of trying to sink a big chord.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, is that where we
could lower the step a bit? Problem is, if you lower that too much, you're just going back into a domey deck.
It's 100 kilos. They might be burying it more and finding that grip, but I just felt like, oh god, I'm nearly slipping here just doing a speed flow, not even a bottom turn.
Not even a bottom turn.
Yeah. So is that applicable from 7.2 down to 6.5? Are we slightly adjusting the tails on everything? Yeah, I know it's a lot more work, but I feel like we'll end up with a better catalogue of shape.
Yeah, sure.
Of sizes.
Yeah.
This is where it all starts. It's the design phase. So it's building the perfect shape that you hope, something that you hope is the perfect shape in the computer, then going to test it, making iterations and going again and again and again and again until you feel like you've found that shape. And I feel like it's been such a long journey to get where we are. But looking at this now, looking at the factory, it's all hitting home and it's all about to lift off. It's so exciting. Three years into the journey of creating what I think is the perfect surfboard. Today's the day that it's ready to go. We're launching. It feels really strange to say that because it's been a long journey. I remember sitting at the back of my car in Australia, having just ridden a really exciting board. It was a mid-length that I'd received from someone in Australia that was essentially a blank slate model, and it also happened to be the model that was closest to my ideal surfboard as a mid-length. I had been for the previous year or two riding mid-lengths from other brands and testing products and hadn't been quite stoked enough to jump on board with a collaboration. And then having ridden this board and realizing, oh my god, we have a blank slate, I can put my own name on this, which is incredibly nerve-wracking and intimidating, and we can start from scratch at building the best possible surfboard. I thought, this is a route that I have to go down. So of course, once you've got that idea and you've got the almost shape, how do you arrive at the final shape? Well, there's a bunch of R&D, and it was R&D that I thought would be a lot quicker and easier than it actually was. I wanted the board to paddle like a longboard, or at least a board way scaled up from what you were actually riding, and I wanted it to surf like a shortboard. It's a pretty unique combination of characteristics, and it was never going to be easy to combine those two successfully or elegantly. I remember getting the first batch of boards and they looked so nice, they looked really cool. And then my brother and I took them out in Adelaide on the mid-coast, which is the perfect testing ground for a mid-length, and they just didn't work. What we realized is that we were trying to cram too many attributes and too many characteristics into one single shape. We had boards that had 5 fin slots in them, and we were trying them as thrusters, as 20s, and we realized it would be a much smarter idea to just split the design into 2. Split it into a twin fin and a thruster, and that way the rails, the fin placement, and everything else could be designed accordingly. So I received another batch of boards, and in amongst those was one special 20 that I managed to take out when I was back in Adelaide. And it was a pretty special shape. It was exciting, it had that flow, it had that effortlessness. Getting that 20 was really exciting because it meant that I had a prototype that I could sink my teeth into. And so I took it away with me to Nicaragua, France, and Morocco.
Always had a way to make it work and find another route. Always had a way to make it.
On that trip was when I realized that we were creating something pretty special. I surfed the board way more than expected. I had students ride it and love it, and it paddled like a dream, and it surfed incredibly well. I guess over that time, I started to challenge myself on what was possible with this shape that we were creating. I think you can see in a lot of the footage where I'm sort of nursing it a little bit, and then over time I start getting a little bit more aggressive with the surfing that I was doing, because that confidence came from just riding the board consistently. So at the end of that trip I was feeling really good about where the board was, but I wanted to see if we could take it a little bit further. And of course, I wanted to finalize the thruster shape as well. So we made some final modifications, and I had a bunch of boards sent to the wave pool so I could do some testing there. I think it brought us full circle back to where it all started, back to the pool where we first did our board tests that kind of put us on the map in this space. But they were all my own shapes. It was pretty exciting. Testing at the pool. We got some new crafts to try. The thought was we had this amazing shape with the 20, so why don't we fundamentally copy that for the thruster, but then adjust the tail and adjust the fin placement to suit a thruster more so. So those two new thrusters were very similar to the 20, so it made it a very easy transition for me to jump straight on them and feel like they were going really well. I mean, already they were surfing as the best mid-lengths I'd surfed up until that point. They were surfing so tight in the pocket, they had good flow all the way to the end of the wave, which is a good sign at the pool. I mean, this was a day when it was howling offshore, which for the pool is the worst conditions possible. So it was really a good day to test out if a board can feel effortless. That was a good insight.
This is the thin tail thruster.
Sometimes it does take a session on the backhand to unlock a board. I have felt that before. Felt really good. That's the new 20, this is the old 20, as you can see by the wax job. And the main difference, we've just flicked the tail a little bit. Super subtle. We're pushing what a mid-length can do. But this is great, we're trying to make the best board on the market by far. So it's always going to be a challenge. We already had a fantastic shape, and that Old Faithful went really well. in the pool straight off the bat. I knew that was going to be the case. And I thought if we can drive that forward even more with a slightly increased shortboard feel, especially in the back half of the board, that back quarter of the board where the tail is, then we're going to have a really monumental shape, something that no one's ever done before, I don't think. And the first wave, I stepped on the board and I slid out and I lost speed, and I was like, oh my God, maybe we've taken this too far. And then there was just this really subtle little foot adjustment that I made. I can't really intellectualize it, but it was like I pushed my back foot forward by just a centimeter and it just unlocked the board. The turn that I did on the half wave at the end of the set felt so nice and rappy and tight, and then I went straight into a bit of a slide with my next cut back, and I was able to repeat that on another few waves. I just felt like immediately I had gelled with that board, and it was just a lightning strike moment of going, that's it, we've made it. We've made the best board. People were asking me in the lineup, like, what's that shape? What is it? I want to ride it. It was just really, really cool and exciting to see us arriving at that point after so long. Ultra high performance, like really crisp off the tail. That was the sort of feeling that came through. So I think it's probably time to settle on that one in terms of the twinning. And so then it was time to take the boards away. I ordered the twinny in orange, the thruster in a cherry red, and I rode them up on the East Coast for 3 or 4 months and really got to know the boards and unlock their full potential. With the thruster, I ended up switching up the fin setup to a 2+1 set, and that was the key for me in terms of unlocking that smaller wave range on the thruster. I rode it in some big stuff too with normal thrusters and got super barreled and just had such a great time on that shape. It felt like that has a really broad range of application, that board, because you can surf it in small stuff and the big stuff too. Twin. I mean, I was in love with the twin already, and I'm even more in love with it after this trip. I ended up taking it to the Maldives as well and had such an incredible time there surfing the board. 90% of my surfs I was on that board. It's so hard for me to get off it, and it really is, I would say, the best board in my quiver. It's the best board I've ever ridden. It's insane. Which one to choose? Yeah, right. Yeah. So how do you know if a thruster is right for you or a twin fin is right for you? Well, put very simply, the twin fin is a slightly more advanced shape than the thruster. So you've got a tighter turning circle on the twin fin than the thruster, and you've also got a little bit more speed to work with. Now that speed, that effortless drive, comes at the tiny cost of a little bit of stability. So my suggestion is, if you are more inclined towards the beginner surfer, the high beginner, the low intermediate, then a thruster is going to be a better board for you because it's going to bring a little bit more stability. If you are more geared towards the higher intermediate and the advanced surfer, then the twin fin may be a better choice for you because it has that tighter turning circle and offers just a little bit more high performance in your surfing. The differences between them are quite subtle, so if you go with what you are called to, chances are that's the right board for you. The final piece of this story was going to the Gold Coast and going to see KBD HQ, which sounds mind-boggling. But to go and see where the boards are being shaped and to have a look at the quality of the facility where they're being shaped, and to speak with the team and know that everyone's on the same path and has that same vision of where we can take this is really, really settling for me. This is one of our first orders from one of my students in the Maldives. So we're actually going to see it shaped. Actually, we're going to see it sanded right now. I think the Gold Coast is the perfect place for KBD to be located. That's where the best quality surfboards in the world, I think, are manufactured. So to have the factory there and to produce all our shapes there, it just makes sense. And just being able to know that those boards that we can order straight from the factory are the exact same boards that I'm riding and have developed over this time is nice, because I know that my students are going to have the same experience as me on those boards. Even though I'm really excited and I'm super confident that we've made the best boards on the planet when it comes to that mid-length category, I'm still incredibly nervous. This is something that I've wanted to do for the past 4 years. Ever since I got into this space, I knew that there was a big gap that needed filling. And there were a lot of naysayers along the way. There were a lot of obstacles along the way. But now to be in this position of launching, I'm nervously excited and beyond all else, mostly just really grateful for your presence here and for you guys making this happen. We've got an incredible team behind this project now. It wouldn't have been able to happen without those people. And I feel like we're ready. I feel like inevitably now is the time for this to happen. And I can't wait for that moment when I can look across at the beach and see someone walking down the beach with my boards and riding away with my boards and smiling with my boards and all that sort of stuff. So thank you for joining me, and thanks for supporting us. Please check out the website. It's kalebrockdesigns.com. I've put a link down in the description below. If you've got any sort of questions around the boards or want some further info on which board to choose, etc., etc., it's all on the website there. We want our shapes to go around the globe. At the moment we're launching them in Australia, and we want them to be everywhere else as well. So your input there in terms of registering your interest or registering your intention to get one sent to you really helps us cross that bridge and get into the international markets as well. So please do that. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.